Becoming a regular guest. We love having him on. Ryan Andrade from rotowire.com, and two hats that he wears there is golf and basketball. So we'll talk basketball first so that Craig can participate in the first part of the interview, and then you and I will talk golf and ignore him completely.
I'm not gonna fake it, man.
Yeah, he's not gonna fake it. Look, Craig is the most authentic human being I might have ever met in my life. There is not a fake it till you make it bone in his body, and I aspire to that.
Well, it's to my own detriment, Paul. So don't aspire to it too much. But yeah, I'm not a golf fan, but let's get on into hoops. Yeah. And I know there's some golf fans out there that'd be happy to hear about that.
So we'll talk. Let's talk transfer portal, Ryan. The last couple of weeks have been really interesting. I saw Keyshawn Pryor made his decision, and he's off to Louisville, who's killing it in the portal. We talked earlier about Kansas. They haven't done anything. They're probably going to have to replace Riley Kugel, who's not getting in there. Baylor's had a heck of a week. What have you thought of the last couple weeks of roster shuffling in basketball?
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Baylor, I think, has been a big winner over the last little while here, adding Omir from Miami, who I'm not sure many people expected him to really go anywhere. But I mean, that gives them a big man to go with, Roach and some other good returning guards they have. So honestly, my big takeaway is just that, the Big 12, I mean, you look at it and, I feel like we've come into several of the past, 4 or 5 seasons saying, man, the Big 12 looks really good. Looks like they're going to be the best conference again. And man, this year, I think everyone is, Kansas seems like they probably are going to be the preseason number 1 again. But I mean, I don't think Baylor, I don't think Houston, I don't think Iowa State is very far behind at all. Arizona, if Caleb Love decides to come back. So, I mean, there's a lot of teams right there. And I'll just, there's not really too many names left. I think the biggest thing people are just waiting for is, some of those draft decisions. See if they go. A lot of them were smart and they entered the portal right before it closed on May 1st. So they left their options completely open. And so if there's a few of those guys like Jameer Watkins, if he decides to come back, he's probably the biggest name left in the portal.
Ryan, one of the biggest, if not the biggest story in college hoops this offseason was obviously at Kentucky and Mark Pope, now the man there leading to the vacancy at BYU. We know Scott Drew was involved. Other names were bandied about as well. And there was a lot of support. For as frustrating as that coaching search might have been for a day or two when a Drew, for example, took his name out of the hat, it seemed by the end of his opening press conference that Ryan Pope had won over Big Blue Nation, at least for the time being. What have you made of the moves that they've made since he's taken over and tried to start to build up this roster?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly really excited with what they got going on. I think we've sort of gotten away from the way Kentucky used to be good with all the one and done prospects and try to just get all these really talented guys to gel together for one season that have no experience on this level of college basketball. So I think, this year, obviously they're going in a completely different direction. They've brought in a lot of good transfers. Amari Williams, you got Andrew Carr from Wake Forest. You got Krisa, who started his career at Arizona and now was at West Virginia last year. You got Kobe Barea, who was one of the best 3-point shooters last year. I really, honestly, probably 2-3 weeks ago, you looked at the roster and they didn't really have anybody at all. I mean, you knew it was going to change because of, the amount of NIL money that Kentucky has and some of the other names that were in the portal. But I think he's done a really nice job putting this roster together. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this team on second weekend of the NCAA tournament next year.
Ryan, Louisville and Pat Kelsey are killing it too. I mean, but they had to rebuild the whole roster. Louisville and Kentucky, the whole state of Kentucky in basketball has all new players all across the roster. How quickly, and what is a very tough ACC, do you think he can get them pointed back to being at least 80% Louisville again?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while. Obviously I like the pieces they have. I guess one of the only good things you can say is that, they're playing in the ACC, right? And there's, the last few years they've only gotten, 3, 4, 5 teams in the tournament. So, it's never easy taking over a big program like this. Everybody's going to go through some of, struggles and things like that. But, I think they did a pretty solid job in the portal. And, I think Louisville is, it's one of those programs that, you want to see do good. Those are, one of the higher tier basketball programs. And I think it's good for the sport anytime that you get some of those teams that are competing and, at the top when we go into March.
There's a lot of consternation right now at Oklahoma over the state of their men's basketball program. Got lost in the shuffle of the Big 12. Obviously, disappointment there at the end of the season. A slow start to the transfer portal as well. Now making the move into the SEC, and obviously very excited on the football part of those things. But any thoughts on Oklahoma basketball, just sort of where they find themselves at the moment and kind of in the big picture of where they're sitting right now?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what people expected when they brought Porter Moser in. They, obviously he had a bunch of great runs in the NCAA tournament before coming here with Loyola. And it's been a little bit of a struggle. Oklahoma, I think, SEC, you're not going down too much. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be quite as tough on a nightly basis going from the Big 12 to the SEC, but they got some good pieces. I think I'll be interested to see, both Oklahoma and Texas. Really, I think both of them had their fair amount of guys transfer out, and they're trying to replace some of those guys coming in. So, both Porter Moser, Rodney Terry, I think, listen, like it's not going to be easy to take this team back to prominence where they ultimately want to be. But, at least I think they'll get some reprieve going to a slightly worse conference, I would say, in the SEC. But we'll see what happens.
All right, I have just a couple more basketball questions, and Craig, let me know. What do you think, one, of Bronny James likely staying in the NBA draft, given that, he had the heart condition, he's been cleared, but he didn't really get going last year for USC at all. And look, he doesn't have to worry about anything the rest of his life, but is this a good decision for his NBA career? Because to go probably right to the G League. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't really know what his best option was, right? I mean, obviously, yeah, he didn't get to showcase, his full ability. I think a lot of that had to do with, the heart issue that he had going into the last season, having to miss quite a bit of games, not really ever getting fully in rhythm. USC as a whole, they didn't really get in rhythm at all last season until like the very, very end. It's sort of a weird spot, right? Because, you're going to get all these NBA teams out here that think, oh, like we can draft Bronny James in the second round, which should he be drafted in the second round just based on him as a player? Tough to say. I don't know. Maybe if we had seen another year at the college level to see him like fully develop and see what he could do against, real competition. But I mean, when there's a chance that, LeBron doesn't have too many years left, he's said plenty of times openly that he wants to play with his son. And, you get a team like Charlotte or somebody like that, has no business landing a guy like LeBron if they draft his son, that's open season, really. Like, so
small price to pay, I guess.
Right. I mean, not often a second rounder is going to hit to where it's going to be, a big time contributor for you. So, I mean, yeah, I personally, I would have really liked to see him give it one more go in college, whether that was with USC or not, just to sort of see what he could do with a full off season. And then, obviously a full season of play. So, but this is what he thought his best option was. So we'll just see what happens.
Doug Gottlieb taking the job at Green Bay and still doing his radio show.
Yeah, that's interesting. I saw that and I was I don't even know how to react to that, really. I mean, Gottlieb is he's a character. I'll say that. There's a lot of things he says I don't agree with, but I thought he's a pretty solid host. But I guess there was some rumor that he was in the running for that job last offseason and got beat out by somebody, and then they left. So it's not like on Deion Sanders level, obviously, but like you kind of got this guy that wants to live in the media, but also at the same time is trying to get respected from his players and coach a basketball team and try to keep them competitive. So that'll be fascinating to see how that works out.
All right, let's talk PGA now. Brooks Koepka's won 3 of the last 6. Scotty Scheffler's the hottest golfer on the planet right now. Rory, is a favorite for a lot of people. What do you look for as they return to Valhalla?
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of storylines coming, right? You got Scotty Scheffler. Obviously, he is, the clear number 1 in golf, but he hasn't played in 3 weeks because he's been waiting for this baby to pop out, and it finally did last week. So, you sort of wonder, he was playing some of the best golf we've ever seen, and now he's got to handle being a dad, and, what focus does that take away from his golf game? And so that'll be interesting to see how he bounces back. I wouldn't be surprised if he started a little slow on Thursday. But then you got Rory. It's coming in off of 2 wins. This was, we're coming back to Valhalla, and the last time Rory McIlroy won a major championship was 2014 at Valhalla, which is like still just saying that is shocking. I mean, he was 25. He had won, I think, 4 majors and 10 starts or 11 starts or something like that. And I mean, nobody thought we'd be sitting here with him at age, 35 and only having 4 majors still. So that's crazy. Brooks Koepka is coming in off a win in his last start on the LIV Tour. And, he's looking for his 4th PGA Championship. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things. I think those are really the 3 main storylines that everybody's looking at. I mean, it should be a great test. I've heard there's a lot of it's very wet there. There might be some stoppages during the week. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But I'm excited for this week.
Who are your favorites outside of that? Like guys that you think could make a move?
Yeah, I mean, the guy I'm actually picking to win this week is Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh,
I think he's about 28-1. He led through 2 rounds at Augusta and drove it very well. There was a lot of stuff made not that long ago about how this guy was just drinking like 18 protein shakes a day, trying to just be the biggest man on the planet. And that, it led to a U.S. Open win, but after that, not too much. So he sort of slimmed down a little bit. He's got a driver that's, keeping the ball in play a little bit better. He drove it very well at Augusta en route to T6 finish. And he was top 5 last year at the PGA Championship. So, I really like his chances to sort of sneak in behind some of those top guys and get the job done.
Yeah, his biggest enemy is Bryson DeChambeau. Like it really is. Like
Absolutely.
if he could keep the devil on his shoulder quiet, he'd be a lot better. I think that he's just kind of a person that has those things like, yeah, I'm gonna be the Incredible Hulk of golfers, and it worked out once, and then he's like, yeah, I was right, and then I would tell you that as a Tiger fan, the saddest thing I ever heard about him was how gung-ho he got into Navy SEAL workouts. And then nobody told him, was like, Tiger, it's great that you're doing this, but like, you're not a Navy SEAL. So, do golf stuff. Like this stuff is maybe more high impact. And, I don't know if you've ever seen an old Navy SEAL, like they're not running around like they used to. You need to do golf workouts. So Bryson needs to be kind of the same way.
Yeah, I've always said, Tiger, like if he had like the mental makeup of like Jack and just was eliminated the distractions better, if he didn't change his swings, 10 different times, I think we'd be sitting here with Tiger still being healthy and still like a legit threat to win some of these majors. And he might have 30 majors. He might have 120 wins, something like that. I think, obviously you can't take away any of the things he's accomplished at this point, but there was a lot left out there. I mean, when he sort of went on that downfall, he was, mid 30s, which is like prime time for most golfers. So it would have been interesting to see what he could have run up if everything had stayed fine.
I always used to say that I would love to be just hired as Tiger Woods' life coach, and he'd be like, "Well, what do I do in this situation?" Like, "Oh, you're Tiger Woods. Like, let me be your caddy. You're not going to listen to anybody about golf. You clearly don't. You kind of have your own ideas. I'll be like, do what you want. Like, be Tiger Woods. Like, look." Superman might fly to the Fortress of Solitude sometimes, but most of the time he just, he's Superman.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's really it. I think if Tiger just owned his swing from a younger age and, I think he could have, there was just so many different points, like even within the run where like he'd have, 2 years where he's fixing his swing and he doesn't, really isn't really competitive at a major for a while. And then, obviously, I mean, a lot of the stuff is, listen, it's self-inflicted. So, I mean, it is what it is, but it would have been, there's a lot of majors that I think he left out there, to be honest. So
me too. Ryan, have a great weekend, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one. All
right. Ryan Andrade, rotowire.com. And